Hello, beautiful souls. It's Kelly from Energetically Inspired. So today I just wanted to share a task that I had to do in a 3-day challenge or program that I decided to enter into, because I'm always willing to learn new things, find new pieces of my puzzle and reach better, just basically improve myself, right? Reach for new parts of myself, evolve and shift, right? And through that, we need to be taking ownership and looking at different aspects of our lives so we can continue to evolve, right? So this one here, Byron, this is Byron, everyone. So this task was actually, and I've still got notes, so I'm going to refer to my notes as well, because I had to do a live and share it as well to other people. So it's in relation to the victim, right? So what is the victim? The victim mentality is a little bit where we give our power away. And this can be in so many ways. A lot of people think the victim is a lot to do with, we're not taking ownership, or we think that situations are out of our control. And we can do this in so many different ways that we play the victim, right? All right, I'll play the victim to the child, no. So basically where I give my power away, right? And to be honest, like everybody does this to some degree, right? I mean, I commonly pull myself up when I see this victim mentality play out in my mind, in my field, when I find excuses to not own things, to not really deliver what I want in my life, right? And so I'll give you examples of ways that I found this to be appearing in my life, or even parts that have been past reflective that still on times I see appear in my field, right? So, oh, Byron. I'm playing the victim to the child. Don't, please. I asked you not to touch the thing. Thank you.
Please just one time.
No, that's done. No, thank you. No, Byron. Byron, please. I'm sharing something. Thank you. Right. This is out of my control, right? So, the victim, right? So, one of the common ones that I would commonly play would be time, right? That, there's only so much time in the day for me to get things done, right? And being a mom, a single mom, running a business, wanting time for myself as well, and I do a really great job of balancing that. I keep myself fairly busy and continue to evolve. I'm always studying and I'm always filling my time in quite wisely. And I'm balancing that. I really ensure that I make time for myself and put myself first. But there is time, where someone will say, oh, we're doing this live at 6 o'clock, and it's like, well, that's the time when I'm preparing dinner, and I really am caught in that space of that I don't have the time, or that the kids will be distracting me and I can't be fully committed, can't be fully present to something, right? And so this is an example. Another one, maybe not so much now, but after my divorce or separation, money was a big one, because I had to create some sort of stability in my life, right? And so using money as an excuse to play the victim in that space, right? Of thinking I don't have that money, or I didn't want to commit to something and put that extra pressure on myself, and then it would reflect into the time. Oh, well, then I'm going to have to work more, and then I'm going to be more stressed, and then I'm going to, and so I would play out this in my field, right? I don't so much now. Reason is because I really trust in the universe to deliver. I really connect into my heart's desires, and I manifest really bloody amazingly, right? Because I commit to my focus and my intentions every single day, right? But there was a gradual increase in this, and really learning to surrender, and what doesn't come through is maybe just not meant to be, but almost everything that I really want comes through, and it comes through in its perfect timing, and I just had to learn to trust and surrender, and that was really the truth behind that. So that's another example of how I could play out the victim, right? Another one would be not speaking my desires, or not speaking up, right? Because I was always afraid of hurting somebody else, or I was a people pleaser. So not putting my desires first. So this is also a victim space, right? Because I would then, get upset and become reactive when they wouldn't give me what I was wanting out of my life, but I wasn't speaking it. How can I give that to someone else if I'm not actually speaking that and putting that out into the field and being clear about those boundaries and that kind of thing? And it's a huge one for being a people pleaser. It was only something I became aware of maybe about 6 months ago, how often I actually do the people pleasing and put my own desires and needs second to somebody else's. But of course, if I continued to do that, the universe was always going to put me second as well. And so I needed to make myself a priority and really honor my own boundaries and honor my own needs and desires and learn how to speak that. And it's still, because it's, 42 years or however long that I've, been doing the people pleasing, which would have appeared as a child, trying to please my parents probably. I don't know. It would have been an inner child thing that I'm having to be really conscious about re-changing this programming and this pattern. As I want to go out and meet new people, it's like, how do I approach these things? How do I, this is new, but if I want to cultivate better relationships in my field and make sure people are aligned and respecting me and I'm not becoming reactive and triggered from that space, I really, really need to honor that. Love you too, Josh. So it's a huge one about speaking that truth. So how often have I played the victim in that? How often do I sit in safety or fear of not, stepping up and doing that too, right? So, it's a big thing that played out in my field, and it still does. I still see echoes of that now, right? And I'm just having to learn to own that more and more. So I'm not the victim. I'm being the conscious observer. I'm not judging myself, but allowing myself to change these patterns. And it will take time, because consistency is really important for us to change something in our lives, right? So another one I would think of is not standing in my full power, right? Not being seen as me. Not, worried about other people's opinions, and I've been really, really, really conscious of this one, because this is, again, that people-pleasing aspect, that judgment, right? That, I do take pride in myself, right? And so to be seen in something less than I want people to see me, but they're going to love me for who I am anyway. So again, this is partly a place that I'm giving my power away. When we give our power away, we are partly being the victim. We are partly being a doormat. We are partly not putting ourselves as that massive priority in our lives. And yeah, you're right, Josh. I am enough. I'll be enough for the right people. But even saying that, right, you go into that space. If you want to, make a relationship, it's that there's still that lingering fear of, am I going to be too much for that person? Or am I not going to be enough for that right person, right? So there's that part of learning how to be me and really, really honor that and know that the right person will love me, because there's always that fear of, will I, not find that ideal person or not have those, that, and that's a desire for me to find, intimate communion, right? So where I can be in my full expression, they can be in their full expression, and we support each other and stand together. So, exactly what will be, right? But yeah, it's trusting in this space. And I know I'm great at creating my desires. So I know that the work I'm doing right now is allowing me to be a better version of that for what I am actually wanting in my life, right? So it's going to allow me to really own my shadow. So the shadow is another one, right? Those places that I haven't owned myself. Those places that I've denied being seen in my fullest expression, right? So, yeah, dancing in my truth. I love dancing nowadays. It's been a huge thing, and I've got a real sass about it, right? But honestly, I don't care anymore when I go to those events, right? But if I went out clubbing, I would have a lot of hesitancy about being seen like that, because people can perceive that. So again, I'm giving my power away because of society's beliefs, right? Because people will look at me and have an opinion. But honestly, I've got to learn to not worry about what their opinions are if it's dampening and dulling my light and not allowing me to shine as bright as I can be. And knowing that the right people will honor and respect. And that, again, then comes back to me speaking my boundaries and allowing myself to be seen, heard, and represent myself, right? And, and honestly, when we speak our needs and our boundaries too, we speak them. We don't need to have them fulfill I mean, respecting our boundaries is important, but in a relationship, if there's needs that we want to be met, you can't exactly expect someone to meet them exactly how you want them to be met if they don't exactly know what that is. And maybe that's not to their fullest ability, but they're going to try their hardest and do their best, right? And the right people, that will be honorable, right? And that will still be respectful. So looking at that space, so yeah, the self-love, you know, honoring my body, right? Being seen, like I still carry some shame around my body and still some shame around my sexuality. And this has been a cultivating space that I'm really learning to shift, right? And find, where's my new boundary being allowed? You know, where can I find that right space to be in that sensuality, that sexuality, and own my body and stand in my purest confidence, right? Because I look fucking amazing for 42. I've got 2 young kids, right? But I still, you know, look at my cellulite or my thighs and ass, and I seriously still hold that judgment. But when I see that play out, I actually pull myself up because it's fragmenting myself. I'm pulling myself to pieces and focusing on those little things I dislike. In the truth of things, there's always going to be something you're not going to like about yourself. So don't fragment ourselves. So I pull myself up. I consciously catch myself do that. And then I do things to push myself through those boundaries and that uncomfortable space, right? Because we need to do that, right? We need to start to push ourselves through those spaces that are actually hindering us from being in our fullest expression, right? So that's been another space, right? That just watching that and seeing myself fragment myself, pull myself back together, see myself as a whole and love myself as a whole being, not pulling it apart and saying I like that but don't like that. That just doesn't serve us in any way. So seeing how I am giving my power away to that, right? That my thighs or ass are not exactly what I want them to be, but I'm perfect as I need to be, right? So owning that space, right? But this is all part of that victim of shaming and, you know, giving my power away around my own body and self-love, right? So in this letter also, was fear of rejection, right? Where rejection's a really hard one to swallow when someone rejects you and then you become reactive in pain, right? So then you stand in fear to not be seen as yourself again, whether it's, you know, showing your fullest self, that you're hiding parts of yourself, wearing a mask, you know, as I explained, being enough or not too much for someone. So we start to change and alter ourselves in a fear of rejection. But again, comes back to the right person will love us exactly as they need to, right? So, you know, these are all those kind of things that another one was closing my heart down and not being seen in, you know, when something was not right and closing the heart down because my needs or desires or whatever it was wasn't right, you know. But when I did that, I was closing myself down to that love. And this can be from old patterns and old fear and old things like that. So, yeah, you know, there's lots of things that can come up in this space. And, you know, when we look at that, the wounded child or old patterns, how are we all playing out the victim? How are we letting our mind create things in our lives that limit us from owning our fullest power? So I want you guys to stop today, maybe do the same thing and journal it and note down exactly where are you playing the victim in your life, whether it's money, time, fear, old patterns. Anyway, guys, love and light from Kelly.